Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome to this masterclass where we will be talking about building a successful career in the climate sector, challenges and best practices. Some housekeeping matters. This session will be recorded, which you can access later from our YouTube channel. Please do share it with anybody who you think would be interested. Also, once the presentation is over, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. We would like to make this an interactive session. A quick introduction of our speaker today, Cecil Pompey. Cecil has spent 15 years in emerging markets with an overarching mission to empower people. She is currently in Mexico working for Sistema Bio as a Chief People Officer and discovering a passion for the area of people. Her specialties include people, operations, culture at work, education, training, learning, coaching, and mentoring. She considers herself a connector and a catalyzer of people at large with a special love for environmental impact and social entrepreneurship. Cecil, thank you again for joining us today. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the intro. I've actually prepared a few slides, so I'll share my screen. I think that's the way to go now.
Yes.
So let's do this. So hi, everyone. I mean, the ones who could make it. I'm really excited. Feel free to I can't read the questions because I'm in presenter mode. So Davishna, please, if there's stuff, you kind of tell me at the end. I just did one very quick slide to give you an idea. So I've worked about 15 years. I mean, I never know, and I always say 15 years in emerging markets. Mostly I lived in India, Kenya, South Africa, Albania, Russia, and Mexico. And actually, I've just relocated to Spain 2 months ago, so I'm not in Mexico anymore. I've worked mostly on different social enterprises. I've actually worked a lot in energy, so I worked in solar and now biogas. But I've worked as well. I co-started for a wonderful social enterprise, another branch on micro-franchising, which is not microfinancing. And I've touched as well a lot with the my current job on the agricultural sector. So I've done quite a few different things. Mainly I started in business development, and now I'm much more I am into people operations because I'm now the Chief People Officer at Sistema Bio. So that's kind of the overall presentation, if we say. I guess my first question, and if you could write, I've prepared definitely a session, but I would love to hear from you. What are you expecting to get from this session, and kind of who are you, where are you connecting from? That would be really amazing. So then we can know as well in the questions how to adjust. I can adjust as well to you and what would be your need. No, I think that makes the session much more interesting. I speak on the subject all the time, so for me, it's very easy to adjust based on what's necessary. Okay. Any questions so far? Anything so far, or should I just start? Okay, I don't see the chat. So Davishna, you have to tell me if anything happens, I should know.
Yeah, I will. No questions so far.
Okay, fantastic. But please do say, it's important to say who you are, who you're connecting from, and what you're expecting. What would you love to learn from this session would be definitely a good one.
Hi. Hi, Cecil. This is Yashaswini. I've been an HR professional for the past 7.5 years, and I'm connecting from India. So I wanted to learn, I am planning to make a career shift to this climate and sustainability space. So I wanted to understand, how do I make that transition, because I don't have the experience so far, or my education is also not into climates. What are the things that I need to upskill myself with, or what kind of experiences do I need to get to move into this sector? That's what I'm expecting.
Thank you. That's great. Anyone else in this vein, or anyone else quite different? This is really what I will cover in the session, so that's great. Anyone has something different to add?
Hi, Cecil. Myself, Amrut. I am connecting from India. So currently I'm working in climate change sector. So I'm working on clean air program, but I want to shift my career to corporate sustainability, ESG, or circular economy. So I am here for that. So I hope you will cover that aspect too.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same. It's like trying to shift. Thank you. Anyone else has something like different? And feel free to write it as well. Yeah, go on.
Shrikar has written in the chat box, looking forward to know who are the big players interested to finance for SDG 13.
Okay, and then I see I'm doing public policy, tech policy. I'm interested to work in the sector, which is okay. So everyone is like doing career shift. I think I'll cover most of it here. Okay, last one. Maybe anyone else has something a bit different, or we good to go?
Hey, Cecil, Viresh Pan here. I'm from India, and currently I am working with an organization. I work within specifically in education, skill development area, and my purpose and my idea of working is I want to improve the quality of education at the government school. That's the one purpose, and the second purpose is I really want to bring some solution to the climate change. Since I grown up from village background, when I was a kid, I saw a lot of trees, lot of forest in my village. But today, if I go back to my village and see that forest, it is no more forest today. And even the climate also the in terms of temperature of also increased. So when I was a kid, it was something like it was very we had a very good environment if there is no high temperature. But now if you look at it is going to 40-45 degrees Celsius in specifically summer. So I'm loudly thinking how do I restore something back to my village, not just village, but um, whole on the how do I restore the forest? How do I make sure that because of the climate change, a lot of issues are faced by farmers. So I just want to help whole ecosystem of the rural background of community.
Okay, so if I understand your question, you're saying I want to do something. What do I do? How do I participate in the space? Because I see the impact around me.
Yeah, of course. Not only just participating, but I would like to learn from your session that um, let's take example the next down the line 3 to 4 years, if I want to start my own something for profit or non-profit enterprises. I just want to get more knowledge and understanding on the climate change.
Starting a company, I think, is like it's hard in an hour, but I promise, like, I try to cover a few things at least to get you started and get you thinking. That works?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, cool. Let's start. Thank you very much for your input. Feel free to keep on writing in the chat. I'll try to look around so that makes sense. Okay. So first I wanted to do an intro about what we do. I'm currently at a company that is called Sistema Bio, and I think it's a very interesting company, and we actually have a branch in India. Our mission is to create value from waste. Okay, so there's really two things for us. Like, we want to make sure that waste becomes a resource. That's the first thing. And the other one, we really focus on farmers that would become empowered and productive. And really the focus is on farmer because they produce smallholder farmers, because they produce 70% of our food globally. And so we want to make sure that thanks to our technology and services and everything we provide, that we can help them become more sustainable, productive, and healthy. And that's important because currently people that work with farmers generally try to help them coming out. And we really want to make sure that farming remains something really cool, but more than cool, like productive and useful, because it's what we need, we cannot just abandon farming, we need to eat. So we need to make sure it's something that stays there. And as well, we want to participate to make sure that we regenerate the earth, So basically, what we do is that we manufacture, so produce, sell, install, So the picture you have is installation. And finance, our patented biodigester system for small and medium-scale farmers all over the world to convert their waste. So think mainly animal waste, cow manure, pig manure, different animals, and to make this waste into economic, health, and environmental benefit for the household. And actually the environment, because like if you regenerate the earth, it's not only good for the family you serve. Okay, so behind, I don't know if you see, like my screen is kind of hidden by the chat, but like you can see biodigesters there. So basically you have one side, I think I have exactly. So I kind of show here, but what's important is that it acts like an intestine, and it basically almost being like the stomach, and it breaks down like manure into biogas and biofertilizer. Okay. So if you see behind, you have one side where you put the manure, then it takes roughly a month, and then what comes out is like biogas that can go directly into the kitchen for cooking, for example, into heaters, but as well you can transform into mechanical or electrical energy. And on the other side as well, you have biofertilizer. So it's like an organic fertilizer that you put back into your fields. So if you look, it looks like this, no? Like it's what I told you, you put it right there, like you feed in the tank, and then what comes out is the gas here. And these are some like productive use of the things you can do. And then here as well, you have biofertilizer at the end, no? That you can input back into any kind of like we say here, like plantations, fields, like anything that you have in your field. So the idea is that it remains something for smallholder farmers. Many people ask, like, do they sell it? Not. Right now, we're trying to focus on is really for the household. So they use the energy mainly for them, and the same thing for the biofertilizer, even though we have a lot of farmers that have started to like sell or give away their biofertilizer if they produce a lot. Okay. You have our website here as well at the bottom, so feel free to look. This is kind of a map. Yeah, exactly. This is a map of where we are. So as you see, we have offices in India in Pune, but we have, and I said this because you're in India, we have actually quite a few people in India in different locations. We have people in Gujarat, Karnataka, we have people in Punjab, in Assam. I mean, we're like in many different states. I forgot the exact number right now, but you can find it on the website easily. But the main office is in Pune for like all the offices jobs. Okay. And then we're in the top, like headquarters in Mexico, but then country offices, we have Mexico, Colombia, India, and Kenya. And we've sold in about 31 countries to date. So our products are in these different locations. Okay, so I have the dates that are adding on. So you can see the full map. So roughly, I wanted to focus the session on tips to enter the sector. I put some notes, but it's mainly what I'm going to say. And at the end of the session, and maybe Davishna can share the presentation afterwards, I had actually written a few articles on LinkedIn about this, and I compiled as well with a few databases that are circulating in the sector. A few platforms, like I put a few links at the end, which should give you extra contacts, networks, and ways to find things. Okay. So, well, maybe before I start, are there any questions? Maybe I can check as well. Super. Okay. Any questions so far? No, I don't think so. So I'll just go. Please write your question, and Davishna can help me moderate this. So I think the first thing, and it's actually interesting because when I arrived into the session, is the first thing that caught my attention is you need to understand the sector, like any sector. And it seems not rocket science, but proof is in the pudding with today's session. Many people don't do it. So the first thing to do is to try and find newsletters, or right now, you know, I mean, when I started 15 years ago, there was not even magazines. Now you have social, environmental magazines, you have LinkedIn groups, you have a lot of ways to get information about the sector. So I think it's very, very important that you know what you're talking about. And something I'll speak a bit afterwards, but like, it's really a big sector. Like social is already one big thing. Social entrepreneurship, environmental entrepreneurship is another one. It's not like you cannot arrive and say, hi, I really don't know what I'm looking for. It doesn't look very professional. Now I know it's a lot, but I recommend by reading the newsletters, following a few groups, and really like spending time, like homework, to read books and read these newsletters. And why not like some investors, they have newsletters as well to tell you the hot trends. It's really useful because I find it, lots of people write and they say, I'm looking for a job in social entrepreneurship. I mean, in social environmental entrepreneurship, you have so many subsectors. You have agriculture, education, gender. You have, I mean, there's so much access to finance. Now, only in environmental sector, you have everything around carbon, you have energy, you have water, you have, so it really, to me, it doesn't look very professional when you say, I'm looking for a job in social environmental sector. Now, if you arrive at a company and say, your company interests me because I want to have a job that has an impact, social environmental impact, of course, it's important to say. But to say, I want a job in this space, it's like, it's almost too big. And the second thing as well, which we'll cover in the second point, but just briefly here, is like, there's many different jobs. Like, are you in finance and marketing, in sales, in project management, in HR? I forgot your name. Yashaswini, I started in the beginning. Like, there's so many sub-jobs. So the first thing is to really understand the sector, the trends, the actor, be curious about what's going on. What are the innovations? What are the like top players? You know, what are they saying? What are the governments saying? What are the political trends? And it's super interesting. And here I want to insist, like, don't try to not use buzzwords. I think buzzwords are not precise, and it's something I'll repeat a lot today. Try to be precise about what you're looking for. So if someone comes to me and is like, hey, I'm looking for a job in social environmental sector, any job, I'm like, I cannot do anything for you. I don't know what you're good at. I don't know. So really understand, and that's your job, guys. No one, and especially right now, no one will come and educate you. You have to educate yourself, and that's really simple because it's mainly reading, online or offline. Okay. Books change all the time. So for me, I prefer to like check LinkedIn and newsletters is more than enough. So I would say newsletters. I always check investors, and I check a few groups that I shared in the end. You will see, like, I shared a few databases, but I share as well an Excel that has even more. So you find the ones who interest you and you go after this. My second point, and goes with the first one, is grow your self-awareness. So in the same vein, I just mentioned this, like, you cannot arrive and say, oh, I just want a job. Like, even if you're at the beginning of your career, you kind of need to know what you care about. And no one will do this for you. And the less precise you are, the less people won't help you to get a job. And that's your responsibility. Okay. Again, you know, I get very frustrated when people say, oh, I just want a job. And it's like, so what? So I should help you figuring out, like, you know, it's very hard. So it's your job to be precise. So understand the sector and understand yourself. So which group do you want to serve? So it could be something on gender. It could be children. It could be seniors. It could be that you don't care, but at least you need to know. Which problems do you want to solve? So I think that's an important one. What are your top frustrations? You can be interested in many things, but still there's some sector that speak a bit more to you, no? Like, I think for me, energy and agriculture, like energy was the first one, to be honest. And agriculture I got into, and it really something that like became a passion for me because I understood how much it's important and how much it covers. So it's very important that you think, because you're reading my point one, you know the sector, you know the actors, you start to understand which are the problems you're particularly interested in. And it's not all the same ones. What is impact for me? You know, like impact can be helping animals, impact can be helping people, impact can be helping countries. You know, what is impact to you? What do you care about? Do you want to help at a systemic level? Do you want to help at a personal level, one-on-one? Like a teacher, to be honest, has the biggest impact. He teaches children all the time and he sees the impact right away. That's impact. What is impact for you? And I think you should take time to think about this. why do you want to work in this sector, social or environmental entrepreneurship? Why is it important to you? Which environment do you thrive in? I think that's very important because in the same way, you have lots of different companies. So you have very small companies, quite startup-y, quite like active. You have as well really big political organizations. You have the UN, you have big NGOs, small NGOs. NGOs are very different than companies. So I have a lot of people that come to me and say, oh, I love the NGO sector. For me, if you say this, you're almost already out, because I'm like, you don't understand. So it's okay if you want to work for an NGO, I don't care, but like, don't mix me up with an NGO because it's a very different thing and you need to know. And what could be my role? I think I learned this when I was on my first job. I wanted to work in business development and I had applied for a graduate program. And the HR told me, you need to be clear on what you can bring in business development, because business development, understand it's about network and where you can grow. Do you have a network? And I was like, oh. So again, you know, what could be your role? HR, finance, marketing, what do you want to bring? And if you're starting, it's fine. But then maybe what did you study and how can you like bring this into your job, right? So that's very important. Or start at junior level. That's completely okay as well. I mean, we recruit junior people all the time. You don't need 5 years experience for everything. So that's my point number 2. And again, I insist, point number 1 and number 2, it's a very simple game of life. No one will do it for you. So decide if you want to say, oh my God, I don't know, or to realize that you have enough tools and education material and stuff to read so you can empower yourself and really be able to take a step in the right direction. My third point is to build a network. So that's probably better. Early in your career, it's quite hard, I find. And again, I could debate this, but especially like from like 3-5 years experience, you need to build your network. And if you're like junior in your career, but you want to do any kind of transition. So for most people of you that want to do a transition, so I'm thinking of all the people that spoke, you need to build a network. So what does it mean? That means you need to know the people and try to talk to them. Again, I don't want to hear, oh my God, I don't know anyone, how we'll do this. Like, I don't think it's relevant. How you do this, you go to events, you talk to people, you write on LinkedIn, you write to people on LinkedIn, and you ask them to go for coffee, but be very precise, like people time are quite like minimal. And you try to be of value to people. So I think the way I did it when I was younger is really going to events and then trying to talk to people or trying to identify people in the companies I was interested in and kind of build a rapport. So that's really something that is quite important. If you don't know how to find events, like I just moved to Barcelona, for example, I am so impressed at the number of meetups there are. Like it's insane. So knowing India just a bit, I'm pretty sure that the big investors, the big incubators, the big accelerators, they all have events, no? I don't know how Shortlist does it in India, but in Nairobi, they have lots of events. So they're in Mumbai, but that's one of the examples. No, I lived 5 years in Delhi, and there was lots of events organized by people in the space that I could find around me. So on LinkedIn right now, on meetups, on anything, find events, go to them. It will help you with point 1, and it will help you as well to like know people and understand which companies interest you and to get direct access to these companies. I think that's super, super important. Then my fourth point is gain experience and experiment. So people that it's quite okay that you don't have experience somewhere. And then it's very different if you're just starting or if you're mid-career or senior in your career, because I think it does make sense. So let's say you have two people. You have someone that say, oh, I was doing marketing at Coca-Cola and I want to transition into whatever, CSR. What do I do? I don't think taking many classes will save you because you have marketing experience, let's say. But I think in this case, it's really important that you start doing like consulting work or helping pro bono volunteering work to make sure that you kind of understand a bit better from a practical point of view, the sector. So it's very hard for me. I have a lot of people from really big companies or oil and gas or chemicals that write to me and are like, I really want to change. it can be a bit difficult if you don't understand at all what we do. And especially if you have all over your LinkedIn and CV that you work in chemicals. I would advise as well to kind of maybe say that you're looking for a change. But it's really, the idea is to gain experience, but really experiment. So it's like, find a way to get involved. And I think it will help you as well to like build something that is not only in your head, but really that you know you will like. Because as well, if a company recruits you, they invest in the fact that you will like it. So I would recommend to redo it. I have tons of examples of people that took courses for like 1, 2, 3 years. And when they started working, they were like, oh my God, I don't like it, because they had never tried. So that's not good. I have as well tons of examples of people doing pro bono work, being on boards of companies. I have people doing marketing for like really big FMCGs, and that try to support pro bono small organizations or social environmental organization, and then end up being recruited there. That's a really good way, I think, to get involved. Okay, and if you have the point number 4, the network, then you can find a way and say, let me help you, I know how to do this. Because I think something that is quite interesting is like, social environmental sector in general is a bit of a newer sector. And so there's a lot of people with less experience. So if you come from like big finance, big consulting, big FMCG, your experience is really relevant, but it's just a matter of like making sure that you find people that you could experiment with. And you're like, hey, I'll do it pro bono, I'll do it for like a small consulting fee. And if you're lucky, a big consulting fee, but let me try. Okay. And there, I think I haven't said it, but I think I said afterwards. Let me just check if I said afterwards. My slides don't go. Yeah, okay. I'll talk about it after. The last one, which is quite important to me, is stop assuming, get listening. So there was a fantastic article that I'll share in my database as well a few years ago that was sent, and there's a few people speaking about this, but like, do not arrive and pretend you're going to solve poverty, hunger, climate change if you don't know anything, right? Problems are always more complex than what they seem. And so what's really important is that you're humble and you're trying to go and spend time and really understand and listen to people with whom you're trying to work. So I don't know any kind of example, but for us at Sistema Bio, for example, like, it's very important that people understand and understand the reality and everyday life of farmers. So go to the field, really spend time understanding. Do not assume you know a farmer's life, because you really don't, except if you have a farmer family, and then even that, you know, everyone could be different. So that's very important, to not have the arrogance of assuming and really be focusing on the last mile, like client or stakeholders that is interesting for you, and really understand what they want. So that's kind of like my overview. Again, I wrote articles about this and I'm more than happy to share. It seems simple, it's really not. And I think it really requires the work. Okay. I have a lot of people, to give an extra example, I have a lot of people that come to me and tell me, hey, I have a lot of experience in project management. What kind of job do you have? I'm like, I mean, first of all, project management is something, or program management is even worse. I'm like, it's a lingo that is very like language that we use a lot in NGOs. Program management outside of NGOs, because it's really they manage a program for the NGO. Like, I don't have this. So you don't understand what I'm doing. And I don't want to spend time explaining you all the time, because then I have lots of people who are prepared and my time is limited. And the second thing is like, I mean, if it's really project management, then you could do something else, because I know that every skill is transferable. Make sure you tell me exactly what you could do for me, because again, you know, to give you an idea, I have 50 people on average every day that contact me for a job. I mean, I'm trying to be superhuman, but then I have a team of many people and I have countries. I cannot respond to all these people. Even on LinkedIn, I'm trying to send a message. I really don't have always the time. So you need to simplify it for people. Make it simple for people. So again, take point 1, 2 really, really seriously. Take point 3, build a network with like a lot of like, you know, like make it easy for people. Like, go to their office, go for coffee with them, bring something of value that they could take as well, because then they would love to exchange with you. And to be honest, lots of people will go for coffee with you if you ask nicely, but that's really important. Take 4 is a lot of focus on like, it's very important that we understand if you can do it and if it won't be like just a jump of like, I woke up this morning and I want to, and people will take you more seriously, will make you more recruitable. And then point 5, I think, is good for anyone at any point in time. Now I was trying to focus a bit more to finish on this big part of how to do a transition. I think a few of you have mentioned it, and it kind of goes between what a few of you have said. If I read again the notes I took, is like, are my skills transferable? So I really don't believe in this. Like, I have a lot of people tell me, you don't understand. So first of all, don't say. I was an investment banker. These are skills that are not transferable. I mean, I think it's so not true. Like, first of all, never limit yourself, who says? And second, skills are always transferable, but you have to be clear. Okay. So you can take, I mean, it would be good to take a practical example, and I cannot right now, but for example, if you're in HR, you do HR stuff. Whether you do it for Coca-Cola or you do it for me, it's exactly the same. What changes maybe the environment, maybe the passion of people around, or maybe that you will have an impact. But HR is HR. I mean, at the end of the day, HR is HR. So what you need to do is like really make sure you're clear about this. So if you were someone in HR, for example, I would love to do that you have done volunteer work on the side or consulting pro bono on the side, or that you really understand my sector. That will give you a very big advantage between you and someone that is the same as you is trying to do a transition. Okay, that's the first thing. If I consider the other one that said, the other person that said they were working climate energy and trying to go more into CSR or circular economy, which by the way are 2 very different worlds. Same thing, like try to explain exactly what were you doing in climate energy. Were you doing like budgeting? Were you doing like, try to break down all the tasks that you know how to do. Is it like budget preparation, like stakeholder creation, stakeholder management? I don't know, marketing, sales, like anything, break it down to what you were doing. Okay. And so all of this go to kind of my second point, which is send tailor-made CVs. If I receive a CV that says I work in oil and gas, I mean, I'm like, I mean, really, you send me this? I have no time. So I really see the difference between people that work on this CV and make it adjusted for us and not. And especially in India, I find it very interesting. If I can give you a feedback from someone external, in India, people just want to go on Naukri or LinkedIn and click. But frankly, do you think between a candidate that makes a special tailor-made application for me and someone that I need to call and tell them, because you know, all of you, that happens, you've applied to our job, do you know our company? Oh, let me pitch our company. Who do you think I choose? Okay, so I think tailor-made CVs are really important, and it can be by subsector, right? You don't have to make like especially for the company all the time, even though, of course, if there's a company you love, you should do it. But it's really much more by skill. So like, let's say you want to apply for you, for example, the second person that I think is Amrut, I would do 2 different CVs, one corporate sustainability and one circular economy. And I would put my skills that are useful on top. So don't try in your CV to write everything. If you were working in sales and you're trying to go into HR, maybe don't spend 3 hours on your CV telling me about sales, because really it won't help me. Except if you're trying to show me how sales is very similar to HR and why. So for example, in sales, you learned a lot like how to manage a pipeline that you could use in recruitment, for example. I'm okay with this, but like, don't blurb everything on your CV. Just try to make sure that your CV is 1-2 pages and very specific, that I can see what you've done in the past can help me to the job you're applying for. Okay, and that's recruitment good practice in general, by the way. I think as well, and it goes with the second and third point go together. Make sure you speak to people and explain what you can do, okay? It's very important that you explain, okay, I've done this, I've done climate energy, I've done finance, whatever, this is what I can do. And this is what I can do in this job. Okay, again, people, they don't have the time to really understand how it translates. So yes, your skills are transferable always, but break them down into something like very clear, especially if you change sector. So HR, recruitment, like performance reviews, employee engagement, and even go deeper into this, etc. Finance, you can say which part you were on, like fundraising or accounting or controller, like there's so many things. And make sure you put that on a CV that is tailor-made for the subsector you're applying into, okay? And make it clear for the people. I mean, another example is I asked 3-4 questions on our platform. If someone doesn't answer these questions, they discard it. I don't even look if the CV is amazing. I don't care you have 15 years of experience. Okay, so really make sure, like that's recruitment good practice, but even more, if you're trying to transfer your skills, you have to explain. So when I see CVs that are quite different, so marketing applying to sales and stuff, I will look if people explain why. And I'm ready to be convinced. Okay, but mention it. Don't pretend it doesn't show. Mention it and mention why, and mention what you've done can help you now. Okay? Get experience is what I said to most of you, like, all of you that spoke at the beginning of the chat, whether HR, climate energy, or that you want to get involved or start a company, I would recommend get experience right now. Even if it's to start a company. I mean, I find it so interesting that everyone is obsessed with starting a company, but get experience doing what you want to do first. So then at least you understand what's going on. And if it's not done well or the way you want, but at least you know what's not done well because you've done it. And I think that's 10 times more appealing for an investor, by the way, or for any kind of like people that would join your team. Same thing in HR, try to get volunteer work on the side. Same thing in climate energy. What can you do already in CSR, circular economy that would be useful? And the final one is like, and I know I insist a lot today, but it's super interesting, like it's super important, be clear, be concise. Don't tell everything you've done. Just tell me what's interesting for this job. And don't give buzzwords. Like, I want to work in climate change. Okay, but I mean, there's 1,000 things. Do you want to be in prevention control? Like, do you want to be in water, energy, disasters? Like, everything is climate change right now. So be precise, no buzzwords, be very clear, one-page CV. Don't tell me everything you've done when you were in high school. Like, it's very important, and explain very well what the skills you have are and what they can do for me. Okay? My second point, I think was quite important, how to do the change. I think this is a mistake that lots of people make. Don't try to do everything at the same time, okay? So here, a good example I have is I have a lot of like lawyers, consultant, bankers, for example, that wanted to become yoga teacher, okay? And so they were like, oh my God, I'm dropping everything and I'm becoming a yoga teacher. I don't, and it doesn't work that easily. I mean, yoga teacher, you can still get a training, so somehow it works a bit more. But point being, focus on what you can do now. So for example, I'm a lawyer, I want to be a yoga teacher or run a yoga studio, open my yoga studio, open my restaurant, whatever. I will say, okay, I was a lawyer, so maybe I can try and provide my services as a lawyer for yoga studio, as a lawyer for yoga teachers for now. It gets me a foot in the door, and then I can change. So if I take the example of HR, for example, climate energy is the same. Like, try to enter in companies with this experience. And once you're in the company, I mean, to be honest, if you tell me in a year or two, hey, I want to go into marketing, I'm okay. To give you an example more precise, recently we have 2 people that joined as recruiters. And after a little while, not that long, a few months, we discovered that they were potentially good and they had an interest for L&D, leadership and development training. And I was okay to move them. But if they had applied for an L&D position, then that's harder. So focus on what you can do now, which value you can bring now. And even if it's you want to change, you will change, but get your foot into the door, and then people, because they know you, they will give you the benefit of the doubt. Okay? So I think that's kind of my strongest point. And that's very important. Don't try to do everything at the same time. So between this and this, I really like my overview, and I think there's a lot already to work on for you now. I've built a way that for HR professional, how could you build teams? So it's kind of the other side. But I think most of you are specialized, are more interested in this. So what I suggest is that maybe you can ask your questions and we can focus on this. And as you know, then I put, only these 4 links. Actually, I forgot to put the link on job boards, but I will. These 4 links should give you job boards, articles, and databases. So which we'll share in the end. But my first point is like, do you have questions for me? And Davishna, of course, you can help me curate and tell us when we've taken too much time.
Thank you so much for that, Cecil. It was a comprehensive session. Really enjoyed it. Questions, anybody? You can type it in or unmute yourself. Just before your session started, Cecil, Priya had a question. As someone who is already working in the field of environment, I want to understand how can one make a shift from domestic job to one that is based internationally or with an international organization?
I get this all the time because I think the biggest appeal we have is as a global company. So I get this all the time. People apply for global jobs. Few different things that I'm looking for. First, if you want a global job, do you speak more than one language? And I know in India you speak Hindi, Marathi, Punjabi, Bengali, they're almost the same, so don't tell me. And then some of you might be maybe speak Hindi in Canada. Okay, but that would be great for pan-India jobs. If you want a global, I need you to speak like, I don't know, recently I had someone that applied and she had learned French. And she's Kenyan, by the way. So what are the markets you're interested in? And maybe that's one of the things. The second thing is try to get experience as well, because it is very different. So people, when I recruit right now, the profiles I particularly like were profiles that had worked for something relatively international in the company. So for example, I had a few people in HR. I was recruiting for an HR job recently, so it's normal. But they had done quite a few stints with other countries. So either in your current company, try to get exposure to like more markets. So one of the girls in recruitment, she told me, I just asked if I could help Canada and Indonesia. And she got it. So she was helping there. That's a good one. You can get as well, like, it's very difficult if you don't have a job. But I would say first get into the company and then ask for this exposure, because you cannot invent a global experience for yourself. So I would say try to find a company that is relatively global, and then try to ask them how you can participate. That would be, for example, if you entered with us, a lot of our India team, except my India people manager, they're very Indian focused, but because they interact with the other countries, and like if they ask me, hey, can I support Kenya? Can I support Mexico, etc., it gives them a lot more exposure. So that's what I would do. Languages, studying abroad is a good one as well. But like global exposure is something you cannot really invent with books, I would say. And yeah. Any other questions? Like really don't hesitate. I'm happy to get as precise as we can. I'm pretty sure you'll have the same like questions and doubts, and I don't think there's anything stupid, so everything is really useful. Shall I read the comments or?
Everyone's just thanking you for a good session so far.
Okay, is there something that was not clear or currently learning Spanish? No, that's a direct message. Are there any specific courses? This is a very good one. So I don't know. So some person I know, she was working in marketing for alcohol company. She was trying to get in the climate sector. And she took a few classes online. I don't know, like Acumen always has one. Like I give you the database you can find in the end, but like always the big players. So like Acumen would be one. There's always On Purpose that might be very European, that do courses and as well that do placements. You have to pay for it, so I'm not that fan. In India and Kenya, you have Amani Institute. I think they were doing this. I mean, a lot of people offer classes. And then for climate change, if you're trying to be specifically on a subsector, you should get a class with something technical. So agriculture, it makes sense. There's a few subsector in agriculture, like carbon emission, like there's tons of courses. Every university has it right now. So really fine. I don't think it matters that much. But anyway, so this girl was trying to do the transfer from marketing to alcohol to entering the climate change sector. What she did is she did the certification for the climate fresque and for another one. And she told me, well, now I have these skills. And I'm like, well, except if you want presenter skills and facilitator skills, it's interesting. But because I see that you spend so much time learning and getting involved into the sector, that shows me that you're really passionate about it. And therefore, that makes you recruitable, because your marketing skills, if you worked in alcohol, I don't doubt. I don't doubt you have a strong background, but it's interesting to see your motivation. And at least with this, you can show. So I don't think there's one way. I think climate change courses can be interesting if you want to be in a technical job. So for someone in HR, I don't think it always makes sense, but it could show that you're very motivated. So that's good. But for someone in public policies or everything carbon is so complex, everything energy is so complex, that could make sense. And again, every university in the world has these courses right now. I'm sure if I look at in France, every university would have it. In India, even more. And I don't even speak about all the edX and Coursera. All of them have as much as you want. Yale could have a program in permaculture. There's so much right now. Any other question I can help with? Okay. I mean, the best is to send me an email, because the moment, sorry for the ones, I didn't write my email, but my email is cecile@sistema.bio, and sistema.bio is written all over. So maybe that's the best for the one who send me a message. Maybe the best is this, no? It's cecile@sistema.bio. And that's probably the best way. We have big programs in India, so that's interesting to see. I mean, for partnerships or anything, we're definitely interested. Okay, and for everyone, I mean, I repeat, because lots of you were like, who are the big players? There's so many big players right now, and it changes all the time. Even me, and I feel like I'm on top of the sector. The other day, someone posted a link of what are the top players, and so many names came out I didn't know. And then I realized as well, it was very US focused, and I felt like, it's the one I write at the bottom. I feel like there was nothing really emerging markets in there. So that would be really interesting to know in your country, who are the big players, and understand what the government is doing around this. But no one will spit out the answer to you. It's interesting to go for coffee with people that could tell you, hey, my favorite newsletter is this, or my favorite top players are this. But there's a bit of work of digging and going after information that will be yours. Okay.
Hi, Cecile.
Thank you for writing my email. Yes, Shalini.
Hi, I have a question. So I am leading CSR in one of the microfinance company in India, and I have been working in the social development sector for last 13 years, and have different kind of interventions related to gender and healthcare and education, livelihood, and so on. So I want to create my niche into sustainability and climate change, since it's such a big broad area. So is there any fellowship that you could recommend? Because I also attended University of Cambridge and did my business sustainability management. So I am into into this transition period, and I'm gaining lots of knowledge about it. So is there any fellowship, internship that you recommend that could give me global, exposure?
Yeah, so you're making a case for what I said before. You tell me you want to build your niche in sustainability. Niche in what? Because you mentioned health, gender, like different things. So do you want to build a niche in there specifically, or anything sustainability, which seems so much to cover? So I would try and find what I'm interested in. Fellowships, I mean, depends by country. In universities and programs, but I would say my first step for you is like be clearer on what you're going after. It goes maybe, so it could work if you want to work for a company. So for example, at the time when I lived in India, Jindal Steel was having a program that they did different sustainability programs with, and therefore it's good for you to be a generalist. And in this case, yeah, it's interesting. And you have an interesting program for them. Or if you want to work in an NGO that covers different of these topics, yes, it's interesting. But if you want to work for a company, then it becomes difficult, because I don't know a company that would do health, gender, and other that you mentioned. So I think it's hard to help you finding a fellowship if you're not very clear, if that makes sense, on exactly what you're looking for. And then the moment you're right, so let's say you want like a fellowship, health and gender, women, like health and women, India. I mean, even Google would give you a better probably answer than me. And then you could ask a few actors, hey, what do you think of this? And it's okay to reach out to people and say, hey, I've seen you've done this fellowship. What did you think? This is what I would do. There's so much resources right now. We try to find people that have done it and ask them what they thought of the program. Sorry for not answering something easier, but I think it's the right answer. Is there anyone else? Do we have final questions? No? Then I think we're good to go, Davishna.
There's just one more question from Piyush. I currently...
Piyush. Yeah. And someone shared the link as well. So this is great. Thank you. So Piyush said, I currently work in the automotive industry and want to work with an electrical vehicle company. How do you recommend I go about this transition? What are the things I can leverage from my current experience? So it's exactly what I've said. Thank you for as well making a special point. What were you doing in automotive industry? Like where you finance HR, building, like anything. So be very precise about this. And then try to like research. I mean, does it really, I mean, depending on the job. So if you were doing HR, it's very simple to convert. I would still get volunteer or consulting experience to show that I'm very interested in electrical vehicle companies. And it's not like just because I'm looking for a job and I apply to any company, including. So I would get experience, but then I would be much clearer about my skills. Like saying you work, I mean, it's what I kept saying during the session today, like saying you work for the automotive industry is not enough. What were you doing exactly? And what are the skills you have and you could leverage? So you could leverage anything. I just don't know what you were doing. So it's precisely the first point I wrote today. Like, what do you think you could do based on what you were doing? If that makes sense. But your CV, I mean, if you take all the things you were doing on your CV, just try to, and try to identify jobs in electrical vehicle companies and how do you match them? How can you bring them value based on what you've done? But it's very interesting, your questions, because it shows that even though these points seem simple, it takes a while and it's not that intuitive to like actually be clear on what you're looking for. So I hope that these two, I mean, thank you for asking this question, because it shows that you really need to spend some time defining better what you guys want, if that makes sense.
Are you okay to take one more question, Cecil?
Yeah, so can I have your opinion about soil rejuvenation and organic farming? What does it mean, you want my opinion? If it's good or if it's bad, or like, I don't understand the question. Could you tell us what's your question exactly?
Hello, Cecil.
Hi.
Yeah, so myself, Dr. Sanya. So I'm working for organic company in Karnataka. So we already have linked with Systema Bio. So I was thinking like just I can get few ideas from you about the soil rejuvenation and all. Because we don't use any sort of chemical fertilizers. So we basically go upon only using organic manure, like farmyard manure and all. So do you have any ideas since like you have skills even regarding agriculture also? So I thought of asking you. It would be helpful for
So
me.
two things. Wait. Two things. The first thing is I work in operations. So this I would say the best person to ask is an agronomist specialized on the topic. I mean, I wish I could tell you and my team could tell you, but it wouldn't be. And second, do you have ideas? Is quite vague. Like, do you have ideas about how it works, the best way to do it, where? Like, I mean, we have agronomists working in the team, and it always depends on the soil, on where you are, on how you do it, it's a very deep question. So my recommendation is, and it's not our pure field of work. So we have agronomists because we produce biofertilizer, we're trying for clients to study it so we could give them the best recommendation based on their soil and what they produce. But still, we're not the specialists. So I know there's lots of people doing research and courses actually on the same, and that probably would be the best people to ask. Definitely not me. I wish I was the best person to ask, but like I'm a very newbie at this, and I'm definitely not the most technical in the team around these techniques. Sorry.
Thank you. The section was very insightful. It was nice speaking to you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think it's 40 years. I think it's less than this, but thank you. I definitely need as well. Like, I really do believe that that as well, there's not that many years and we need to regenerate years. But then again, you know, like what we do at Systema Bio, which is interesting, is like if you only use manure and dry it and use it in your field, the manure actually still produces methane. Whereas if you put it in the biodigester, you actually you capture methane and put it into CO2 emissions. So again, I know I'm quite direct, especially for an Indian crowd, but it's super important. And I repeat this again, that this is not light advice, you know, and if I said for a reason, it's like, I do think you need to spend time to take ownership of your application and really refine what you want, know the sector, build something, and not be generic, right? That's super important. So, I mean, then it's your decision, right? But the best jobs will go to the the best prepared. So I'm sure it makes sense. That's it for me, Arishna.
Thank you so much, Cecil. Somebody has just asked, what about the climate board and other links you are going to share on the chat?
I can share them. I mean, actually, I can share them now if you want. And give me 1 second. I need to get out of presenter mode and I'll share them in the chat. And that's an easier way. Hopefully, give me half a second and it's there. No, the links don't go. So then I'll need to send it to you, Davishna, by email. No?
No problem. No problem. We can do that.
No problem. Okay. Okay. So I think, yeah, that's the best way, because for some reason it doesn't let me. And thank you to everyone that actually sent links. It's super useful as well to get links. Yeah. Other links and stuff. Like I shared, one of the things is a database that people share around in the sector, and I think it's super useful to have access to this. So anyway, that's it for me, I think. Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Cecil, for making the time, and everybody else who joined. Thank you, and do keep in touch for all future masterclasses.